I always have trouble talking.
Oh yeah, exactly. Exactly. Get everyone fired up. Are we live yet? Oh, there we go. Someone's mic is not on. I see my mic is on. Yeah. I ended up leaving before I got into the warehouse. I was there to get jigs, and they ended up saying no to them that day. Yeah, handsomely did. But it wasn't that we said no to them. It was more that we needed you to order them on your phone before you got through the line, and you actually could have picked them up there. And you could use that really good code. I know. For those of you guys that came out to the warehouse, we appreciate your guys' patience. That was an absolute disaster. It wasn't a disaster, but it was like a Black Friday rush.
Didn't realize
No,
what was
At Saturday.
I saw all the stories.
It was our first time.
It's echoing bad.
Still echoing, everyone.
On who? I don't get it. Pause on that thought, everybody. I'm going to kind of just keep talking a little bit here. Everyone's still saying. We had the X, so I wonder it must have not been on. Come on, dude. I don't see it or hear it echoing. Shoot. We have a lot to talk about.
And log off my end and let you see if it goes away.
Talking Steelhead, we got some good giveaways. We have a couple excellent guests. And of course, we have Jordan chasing too. The superior guests. The guests.
Dream
The dream team.
The flow.
There we go. Long hair, don't care team.
What's up? Don't tell me you have to restart.
No, it was Scott. So
He was
we
still
good?
on there? Oh, he was still
Still
sitting there and
Scott,
listening.
yeah.
Okay.
Everybody, are we still echoing?
That was how we should be good now.
Better.
Because it was coming from
Still
his
there.
computer.
It's gone.
It's gone. Okay. Oh, thank you, Sharon.
Woo!
Thank you, Sharon. Sharon! To the rescue. All right, guys. And by the way, Ben, I see you on here. No, unfortunately, Marlon took off to Idaho. So those things that I had in the truck for the project, yeah, he's gone. He left. Like told me like an hour ago he wasn't going to be here.
Bummer.
Told us all an hour ago.
Yeah, he told us all an hour ago. I got Jordan. I'll show Jordan. Anyways, guys, yeah. So back to the warehouse. Just while you guys are tuning in, be sure to share this out. Be sure to like, thumbs up, do all that good stuff. We've got some killer prizes under the table. You guys know the drill. We want to have a bunch of you guys tune. How many people we got so far, Clint? We've got almost 400 already.
Wow.
Live.
It's because
Wow.
we're talking.
Because we're talking Steelhead. All we had to do,
100%.
I had Jen title it, It's Time. And we're going to talk some pretty good stuff. Like I said, we got some great guests lined up. But back to the warehouse sale. It was a disaster. And we do truly apologize to anybody who came out. I wasn't even going to show up.
To anybody who came out.
I wasn't even going to show up. Same kind of thing like Jordan was like, I'm just going to get there at noon for the meet and greet. But at 10 o'clock when I saw the first live feed, and there was over 200 of you guys standing in line, I ran down there, and I can tell you right now, I have never seen, I'm just going to say it because he's not here, I have never seen Marlon so stressed, like in a long time. You guys came out in droves.
I thought his eyes looked a little red
There was
when I
a
got
lot.
He
there.
was
of
like,
people.
he was pulling what little of his hair that he has left out. And because we had to fix, there was a big bottleneck. And honestly, guys, it was our first warehouse sale, our first meet and greet.
Yeah.
So I kind of got there, and I didn't have anything to do with fixing it or anything. These guys buckled down. They figured out a solution. Mike did awesome. Colt, Hayden, Robbie, and Marlon, of course, they figured out like a little bit of it. We sped that line up.
A little bit of a
It's
system.
like if we would have had that figured out right at the start, I think it would have been even better. We appreciate you guys all coming down there. Hopefully the deals were worth it. And I know we're going to try to do these things again later on. But it was a really good time. And then at noon, a lot of you guys, very obvious you guys were all there for the specials. Like,
Yeah.
big warehouse sale. I get it. It's the season. But I think that really showed that we definitely need to do these more often.
Yeah.
And the meet and greet at noon, we had 50 pizzas. And it was a good time.
Yeah. No, me and Dave and Popoff were out on the river filming. And we all had kind of gotten a reference as to when to be there. And Marlon calls it, I think it was 9 o'clock. And he goes, somebody slept in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You guys better get here right on time." And we were a couple minutes late, and I got another call like, "Where are you?" And we got there, and it was a heck of a crowd. So
But it was the
super
best
cool to
thing
see
ever.
everybody again.
But it was the best thing ever, and I have been to, and thank you for the big group picture. Well, thank you, Tyler, for tuning in. We had people from Canada.
Yep.
From Canada.
Hey.
Came down to the warehouse. It was pretty badass.
It's a long
And,
drive.
Very show, like I said, showed that we definitely need to do that more often.
Yeah.
And we got some other plans in the works, but we're not doing that anymore because we don't want the backpack thing like ever again
Ugh.
for like 8 months till we
Never.
actually do that. But got some really cool stuff in the works kind of along those lines. And like I said, we appreciate you guys all coming out. For those of you guys that are paying attention, we do have another winter drop coming up here in the middle of the month of December. Stay tuned on the exact dates for that. And because Clint is in the other room feverishly putting stuff together for it.
Mm-hmm.
Got some other cool stuff coming as always.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and who else got their backpack off the Mustad website? I heard there was some pretty good codes going around.
Really?
You guys buying the Steelhead
Secret
backpacks.
codes, eh? Ah.
Pretty good.
Secrets
Pretty
are
good
lies.
Pretty good. Pretty good stuff. So tell us where you're tuning in from. We've got Prize Pack 1 giveaway underneath there because Marlon, before he bailed on us, did set aside some pretty cool gifts, and they get better throughout the night. Tonight, we've got Mr. Bob Kratzer coming in to talk North Coast Steelhead. And then I think we're just going to let our
Couple
second
towels.
guest marinate a little bit, who's talking some other Steelhead in other locations where they're actually doing something and
So
having a very good program and a very good time doing it. So tell us where you're tuning in from. We're going to give this about 2 more minutes. We got to speed things up tonight because we got our guests waiting.
Is that a giveaway?
2 more minutes. Let us tune in from. And Nathan, Cam, would love to go crowding with you.
That's
I
2.
just got a whole bunch of
I
pots
thought we had
delivered.
3.
It sounds like we're going to get the month of December. Well, we can crowd whenever, but it doesn't sound like there's a lot of commercial interest in the next couple weeks that are going to happen down there. So I do plan on crowding through the whole month of December. So stay tuned on that.
Oh, that sounds so good right now.
I know. I had it one time, made those crab cakes. I was like, dude, I gotta go again.
Well, you'd have liked the chowder I made today. Smoked salmon chowder.
ooh. Oh.
It was off the charts. And then I used
Dude.
Crab chowder? Is that a thing?
no smoked salmon.
Yeah.
Oh, crab
Can you
chowder.
make
Oh,
the
absolutely,
crab chowder? Because
absolutely.
I'd rather have the crab than the smoked salmon.
Well,
Sorry.
of course.
I'm
I agree, but it was smoked spring.
Man.
So it was, yeah, it
Oh.
was nice and oily. It was on the episode.
Oh,
Thanks for all the shout outs for the episode, but no, it was off the charts.
I bet.
And I used instant potatoes to thicken it up instead of flour.
See, you and the instant potatoes.
I just has so many uses.
Why did I do that not with a crab cake? To thicken the crab. Well, guess we got to go again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. For you guys, we've done some awesome catch and cook crab.
Yes.
And that one's not. You just told me today. So.
Yeah. No. That actually came out today.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, on the Stay Fishy.
Yes.
I was gonna say, is it actually uploaded and out right now?
Yes, it is. I saw a couple
I
comments.
texted Marlon.
Dang it! I was hoping I was gonna. It seems
Oh, he
like
had a
every
great
Wednesday
excuse
someone
though.
goes,
He was really sick last week, so
He
he was in bed and didn't get it up. So thanks for being patient, everybody. And
Yeah.
honestly,
I wasn't gonna say anything.
God.
Oh, leave it to
Oh,
me. I'm sure you didn't have any trouble doing that.
Oh, yeah. Crab cakes were yummy. Yeah,
Go
no.
Keel.
Well, should we do this giveaway?
It's a good time. Well, we have to have Clint in the room to do a giveaway, so we're gonna give it another second. Have you caught a steelhead yet?
Hooked one, yes.
No.
You
Oh,
always lose the first one.
Nope. This is like the guys.
You always lose
No,
the first one,
no,
guys. No,
no,
I
no.
haven't been.
No.
Okay.
He lost
There
a
is
really
rule.
big cutthroat.
It's like early Columbia River Springers caught in February. Everybody goes out and trolls, and they had a bite, or they might have hooked
No,
one.
this was
No,
100%.
No,
This was 100%.
I caught a winner.
I saw the
Chinook.
pot of fish roll up into the flat, and I go, that fish looks a little different.
How many of you guys out there think that for like the first ones that they have to be like in hand?
In hand,
In
in the
hand.
photo.
It's like it doesn't. No,
I'm
No,
definitely
no.
not counting it. Definitely not counting it, but
I don't wanna
I
hear it.
have encountered a winter steelhead. Yes.
I heard of one.
So does that mean
I
I
heard
caught
of
one?
one.
Yeah, you're like Clint.
I heard
fishing.
of a
Yeah.
couple.
Apparently then I caught a steelhead.
Oh, I mean, how many? Yeah, if someone said nope, exactly. I don't know. In hand, yep.
Oh, our guest is showing us a photo of one right now. You guys can't see them.
Oh, well,
I-
before we get to
Yeah.
and you know what's real funny about that? That's someplace they actually are still. Oh, okay. Too soon. So, all right, guys, Clint, let's do our first
No pick,
giveaway,
no
and
proof.
then we've got Mr. Bob Kratzer who's going to give us the rundown on the North Coast Steelhead decision and some insight in there. Once Clint does the random giveaway, we've got some ProCure scent and a
Yes.
little bait towels.
Panfish blend, super gel, and a couple Loomweld towels.
So, how many people we have got watching here, Clint?
That could be a bath towel.
Okay, guys, we have 400 of you watching.
Your winner's out.
We need to get to 500 for the last prize, and we've got a lot of really important and good stuff to talk about. Our first winner tonight is Connor Hankinson from Snoqualmie, Washington. Congratulations. Email us at orders@addicted.fishing. Tell us that you won the first prize pack of the It's Time Steelhead discussion.
Bam.
And we will send that out to you, and be sure to include an address and what you won.
Look at that.
Yeah,
Jason's-
need proof.
Jason's
Doesn't
so
count if you
trained
don't
up.
have a picture. Got to have pic for proof. I don't know, man.
Way too
Hey, didn't we have
Oh,
3 tonight?
You
though?
can't just throw that out. I hooked a Springer
Oh, yeah.
like 2 weeks ago when I actually went salmon fishing again. But I lost it, but I counted it for the February. I saw it roll. It was chrome.
Now you're just giving me a hard
It was a
time.
I
Springer.
saw it roll. It was
It was a
gross.
Springer.
Did you take a picture with the newspaper?
I saw a pond of fish and I knew it was
Bye, guys.
See you
Bye, guys.
later.
You know,
See ya.
you know, the reality is, like, I'm just like super jealous that he's actually got out and getting after it and already, you know, just doing stuff. And so
Watched a pot of fish come
definitely.
across.
I will not say I've targeted steelhead. yet
I've been
this year.
sitting there working on my website and crabbing and crab gear and just getting fat
Getting
and
fat.
lazy.
About time.
I got to put on my winter coat or else I'm gonna freeze.
Winter
I'm gonna
coat
freeze
on.
my ass off now. We got some other good
About
stuff.
time
We
came
got
and
some other
gained
stuff
a
going on
pound.
today, commission meetings and all sorts of fun stuff. But we'll get into that
You were
later.
doing some stuff today that made you lose some weight, honestly.
Pulled my hair out a little
Yeah.
bit. Actually, was not that bad, but we'll talk about that later. I'm going to bring
Yeah.
in Mr. Rob Kratzer on the phone real fast. We got him for just a few minutes here today to give us the rundown on North Coast Steelhead. And I may need to hijack that microphone. I forgot. Well, maybe I can just hold it up to here. Hey, Bob, how's it going?
Good. You?
Good. How about Sharon? Can you hear Bob? I need to know if you can hear Bob.
Yeah, Sharon.
Sharon! I'm not going to yell into this. Let's see here. Good evening, guys. Like Clint walking past a girl and calling it a date. Bob, if you heard so the discussion before you got in here, Mr. Kratzer,
That's hardcore.
was Jason here had hooked a perceived steelhead. Does it count? Not the first ones of the season, right?
Oh God, no.
Ah, see, okay.
God,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah,
Bob.
sorry,
Oh
dude.
God, no. Oh no. They've been up here for 2-3 weeks.
Well, that's
3
when I
weeks,
hooked it.
almost- Yeah, a good 3 weeks. There's been good numbers of them up here.
Have you hooked any yet?
I got one yesterday.
Oh, well, there you go. Of course you did.
Did he
Of
land
course.
it?
I wasn't really trying. I mean, I was looking more for a co-host, but we ended up catching the steelhead. So that was my last co-host day was yesterday. So,
So you just catch them when you're not even trying. I get it. Well, you're Bob Kratzer, so that's
right.
fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Exactly. Well, Bob, you've been an integral
Oh,
part of like the North Coast.
Can't hear Bob.
Can you guys not hear Bob? I'm seeing other people saying that can hear Bob. Can you guys not hear Bob? Let's see if I can get a little closer here.
I think that was right before you.
Yeah,
held
before I
up
brought
close.
it up.
Mm.
I know you guys. Bob's been an integral part of the North Coast Steel discussion, and yesterday the rules came down. So you want us to just give us the 30,000-foot view on that, Bob, and what's that mean going forward?
So we finished the town hall meeting was on Tuesday or Monday, I guess, Monday night. So rules came down, and just a quick overview going down the coast. Quileute system, they expanded our fishing a little bit, expanded our boat fishing a little bit. So you can fish out of your boat from the Maxfield boat ramp down, which is about 14 miles of water. You can fish out of your boat from the 101 bridge on the Kalawa down, and from Mill Creek, which is about 3/4 miles above the hatchery on the Bogasheel, down. All the water above that you can still fish, just cannot fish from your from a floating device.
And you can use floating devices to traverse those areas, but not fish out of.
Correct. Yes, you can still float and float your boat. You just can't fish out of them above those areas. And on the Hoh River, open till March 31st. Same with the Quileute. No fishing from a floating device. Selective rules. Going down the coast from there, you have the 𝗛𝗘𝗟𝗪, which, as of right now, is closed to all fishing. Now, there is some discussion going on with our co-managers regarding that, and basically what's going on is that the co-managers in the department have not agreed on not only their escapement levels, but their forecast numbers. So they're trying to come to an agreement and make some form of agreement between the two of them. So keep your fingers crossed, keep your eyes and ears open. The 𝗛𝗘𝗟𝗪 is not a dead issue. It just, right now, it's closed until they come to an agreement. Same with the Quinault River, the Upper Quinault, same thing. Upper Quinault is closed as of right now. There's a proposal to leave it open through March 31st. Same thing. They're working with the co-managers on coming up with an agreement on the fishery. So both the 𝗛𝗘𝗟𝗪, Upper Quinault, not off the table yet, just up for discussion and being worked upon. The Hump Tulips River is open until, from the 101 bridge down, until December 16th. It is a salmon-based fishery. You cannot fish from your boat. The salmon limits are what the pamphlet says, and then they are allowing you 2 hatchery steelhead if you catch them. However, you cannot fish from a floating device. In the Chehalis system, it's same thing. It's a salmon-based fishery, open till December 16th, from Oakville down river in the main stem Chehalis. There again, no fishing from a floating device, and selective gear rules. So that's what they gave us this year. We got some expansion on the North Coast, mostly because our runs are doing a little better. We got higher forecasted numbers. There's a little more room for error, margin of error on those versus some of the systems to the south, like the Chehalis and stuff like that, where the margin of error is a lot tighter. A lot of confusion, a lot of frustration from the general fishing public on the Chehalis system, mostly because of the Satsep, Ŵynuchi, 𝗪𝗪𝗥𝗃, and the lack of ability to target hatchery steelhead in those zones. We worked very hard with the department to come up with some selected areas to where we could harvest those hatchery fish and kind of really focus on them. We thought we had some deals made and thought that we were headed in the right direction. Unfortunately, when it came out, they said even after we crunched all the numbers, there's just too much error or chance on impacting too many wild fish. So therefore, they did not want to open them. The biggest thing that the department is pushing for is increased monitoring. They want creelers basically all over the place. So if you look at the Chehalis system, where you have pretty low margin of error, and let's say we can only impact 20 wild steelhead in the 𝗪𝗪𝗥𝗃 or whatever river you want to choose. If that's the case, that means as sportsmen we can handle 200 wild steelhead. But without creelers there's too much error as to when does that number happen. So until we get creelers to do all those resources, we're going to struggle to have some seasons, down there regarding that. Now, the budget proviso that's been worked upon with the department and the Coastal Steelhead Advisory Group has put together a paper that will go to the commission. Well, it's going to the commission now, and then it'll actually be shared with the legislators here next week. And the department is asking for almost $6 million, which would allow us to have full creeling up and down the coast. Also would give us some sonar capabilities where we could actually sonar some of our rivers to find out exactly how many fish we really are getting up the rivers. And that's what the department is doing now. And that's where the direction is. That's where we're headed. I think it's a good route. However, I still think there could be more done. And I think you and I've talked about that. We've talked about it on the show before. You know, I think the idea of brood stock programs are going, you know, if we're going to really return these rivers,
That's what they need.
there's a bunch of these rivers that we really need to look at brood stock programs,
Right.
you know, to really help some of these rivers recover. You have rivers like the Quileute system. As much as it would be great to have a brood stock, you also have abundance of wild fish. So may not completely be necessary there, but in places where you have very low rate of wild fish and abundance of hatchery fish, and you're not able to even constitute a fishery, those are probably places that we really need to be looking at.
Yeah.
You know, what are we going to do to turn these around? And I'm not a personal belief of just stop fishing for them.
Well, it's never worked.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Right.
you know, I'm glad to hear they're going to increase the monitoring. It all sounds fine and dandy. I hate to use this term "study it to death," but it does seem to kind of reign true, and it's already happened on some of the rivers down here on the Columbia, and you know, and other examples up north too, where you know the removal of sport fishing and removal of sport fishing from boats hasn't never brought any kind of increase back into steelhead fishing. It hasn't. I mean, tell me the example that it has. So using it as a tool to limit the sports. I mean, I guess you're limiting the sports. You are limiting a few encounters, but it's definitely just not a long. It's a hey, we have to do something solution. It's not a hey, we need to fix the problem solution.
It's an easy way out.
Yeah,
It's
and
an
I
easy
agree. And
scapegoat.
so part of what's going on is, you know, unfortunately we had past Fish and Wildlife folks who basically allowed some of these steelhead fisheries to be fished on both by the co-managers and the state to a point of, you know, hey, when we're under escapement on the Columbia, you know what happens. Like, we have all these rules. We barely craft fisheries. We do all this stuff to make sure that we don't get there, right? Well, for years and years, we've had some steelhead fisheries that we've had below escapement levels, and we've just been fishing on them like, hey, no big deal, right? And so somebody, I mean, hey, I'm going to applaud the department for coming out and saying, hey, whoa, we could.
Well, we all want these. We all want these fisheries 20 years from now. So if there's a problem, there's a problem. But like I said, but if there's a problem and you're going to restrict, you know, the sports in a way that you're, you know, cutting access from, you know, a lot of different user groups, which is always my biggest bitch about it, and you're not really fixing the problem, and especially when the department does a lot of presentations explaining about, you know, climate change and habitat loss and predation, especially in the Chehalis Basin and some of these areas, and it's like, okay, then what are we doing about those? Oh, we're just basically kicking you out of fishing from a boat. It really ires me a little bit, but I think there is some positivity, like you said, in the run. There is some other areas that are open this year. I think I saw a lot of comments that at least some people were pretty excited to hear that. At least there's some progress, and there's at least a little bit of a long-term idea looking at it a little closer, which, you know, that's probably needs to happen.
Right.
So I
forgot to tell you guys, the Willapa Bay area rivers are open until March 31st.
I was just hoping you weren't going to say that at all.
Yeah, Willapa Bay area rivers are open until March 31st.
You know,
No fishing from a floating device.
No fishing from boats.
No fishing from a floating device. Selective rules.
So since you can't do that, there's no point even going.
Yeah, rivers are too long.
Rivers are way too long.
We got hit pretty hard. We made some progress this year. and there's several of us that are working really hard, like nonstop, to continue to make progress.
Yeah.
You know, we are definitely, for a bunch of years, we didn't collect any data. We don't have any data.
Sure.
Like, we have data from punch cards back in the 60s. You know what I mean? We haven't collected enough data on these wild steelhead, particularly on the on the whole coast. And so there definitely is a bunch of data collection that needs to take place that will help us better manage these fisheries and better help us establish back to some of the fisheries that we had in the past.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's going to take a little time, and I'm working super hard to try to expedite that. And on top of working with some of the things like you're talking about, like with predation and things like that, you know, those need to go in hand with everything else that we're doing.
We can't just
You know,
remove the sports. We cannot just remove the sports and expect it to
that this is
magically,
gonna
right.
right. It's not going to happen.
It's a lazy
So
management style.
With some limited stuff, with some possible brood stocking or those discussions happening, on top of looking at predation and looking some of the other issues we have, I think we can turn a lot of this around. And the only thing I can tell everybody out there, I know everybody's frustrated. I get it. I'm frustrated too. But you can either share your frustration in a bad way or you can share frustration in a good way.
Well,
The good way is give us some good examples of what you think we need to do. And then also be involved in some of these meetings, be involved in the town hall, be involved in some of those things, and come to us with some great ideas that then we can run forward with. You know, and that's all I can really say to do that. Other than that, know that there are people on your side that are fighting every day for the sportsman.
And you absolutely are.
Where does the science, where does the biologist come from? That's what I always wonder a lot when we see a lot of these different studies that are made and these studies that are paid for by certain groups. Where do the sportsmen start to go to start some sort of management strategy or find biologists?
I think it starts with the biologists and the
Where do these
managers.
biologists come from, though? That's what I wonder. Are they? Is because at times we've talked about it, paid science, where these wild fish groups are doing these studies with biologists. Is it? You have a biology degree. You could have a biology degree. You know what I mean? You could go and do whatever it took to go out and do these surveys and stuff. And where do we take that step to have the correct amount of science coming in that are actually working towards it and actually going for a goal instead of
I think when we have our discussion with our next guest, we're going to hear where a lot of these kind of conversations where they really start.
Yeah.
And I think you have to have some I'm
right. It's hard to say.
No, I know exactly what I want to say.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it though.
Yeah.
But I think you've got to have some willingness to get rid of the this kind of status quo and just and look at what is working and what you really want. And you guys up north have a unique situation, and I'll just say it. I mean, when it comes to netting and removal of some of the fish, whether you like it, whether you hate it, whatever, it's still a thing that occurs up there. And the fact that we don't even plant and mitigate for some of these losses in some of those rivers is just, to me, it's just asinine. Yeah. But that's my personal opinion.
Let me say this is, like, first of all, there are some studies already out there that are sportsman friendly type studies, right?
Sure.
That were funded by places, and believe me, we're putting those in front of the right people every day.
Yeah.
Like we're continually putting those in front of the right people. You know, when it comes to your question on biologists, I guess I would two things. Number one, pick up your phone and call your biologists. They're public servants. They work for the Department of Fish and Wildlife, which works for you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can pick up your phone and call your biologist and have a conversation with them and talk to them a little bit. I think you're going to find out that a lot of the biologists we have are actually really good people.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually have a lot of really good ideas. And there's a lot they want to do. So I guess what I want to tell you a little bit is, don't necessarily beat up the biologists because
Right.
some of the stuff that's happening is above their head,
Exactly.
Right.
right?
Well,
It's
let's beat them
above
up.
They might have a great recommendation, what they think that we should be doing,
And it goes on her
but they
ears.
don't really
Yeah.
get to do it because of what's happening above them,
Yep.
right? So sometimes our battle isn't there; it's higher up the chain,
Yep.
and that's where we need to focus our attention on. Is like we need, I know Cameron was at a game commission meeting. He needs to be there. We need more people there to let the game commission know what's going on. We need letters to the director. We need letters to the fish program manager.
Involvement.
We need
We need anglers involved.
to say, how you feel and so forth. But like I said, I'll back up again and give them good, solid ideas. The proposal that we got for this year on the North Coast was a proposal that I worked on very hard with the department on, and it was very well thought out. It was very well instrumented. It allowed for conservation, but allowed for some increased sport fishing opportunities because our fishery allowed for it.
Right.
Is it as much as I would have liked? No, it's not.
But
because I think we should be able to fish more. But I'm also not going to go fight the department head on for something I want just because I feel it's the right thing to do. So what I did was I went in with some conservative ideas that the department could bite on and they could work with and say, okay, look, here's a plan, and we feel like we can do this.
you fought over the slice of the pie, but really at the end of the day, the pie needs to be bigger. And unfortunately, we are in a little bit of an uptick when it comes to salmon runs in the Northwest. I mean, we're seeing that even, post-run, data coming in, even from everything from Steelhead to the fall Chinook run on the Columbia River coming in 250,000 fish. I mean, either way, there was a lot of pretty surprising increases in these runs, and we're in a quote-unquote good time. Unfortunately, though, as we all know, in the Northwest, salmon runs are very cyclical and very dependent on the ocean. I think one takeaway we want to have is we are seeing a little increase this year, but I think the second that pie shrinks down, that slice is going to get a lot smaller. Bob, I'm going to let you go, and I appreciate your insight and you drug in 550 plus viewers in here, so every time we just need to get Bob to talk every time because everybody likes to talk Steelhead. Let Bob speak. We're gonna, I promise you guys, we have another guest lined up today, and just as good, just as legendary. Bob, do you have any dates open for any of these guys on the North Coast anymore to get up their date? I know I got my date with you.
Yeah, I got 2 days in January right now is all I got. I might have a day in February or March if I'm confirming with all my clients right now. So I may have something open up, but right now I have 2 days in January.
Message Anglers Guide Service or Bob Kratzer, guys, get those 2 days. You will not be disappointed. We've got some projects in the work with Bob, and as always, Bob, thank you for your insight. Thanks for talking. We will be checking in often, and we'll be talking to you here real soon.
You got it. You guys have a great night.
Cheers.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to talk to Bob longer, but I was getting tired of holding the phone right there. No, Bob, man.
You finish yet? I'm tired of holding this thing.
It's troubling, right? You fish up there a lot.
Yeah.
What's your take
Fair
on
amount.
that? I mean,
What's my take on it? I mean, I think that
It's
they,
they
like Bob was
Give me
kinda
something to
saying,
throw.
They did give us a little bit more up there, but also, they're not giving us April, and they're still giving still giving the tribes April to net. I'm not sure how many days a week they're going to net, but I know they're going to net.
I know
And
some of the hang up.
sportsmen
I know
are-
some of the hang up on the Quinault and the 𝗛𝗘𝗟 is because there's so many netting days scheduled
Yeah.
that the department didn't even want to schedule. I know Bob didn't say that, but it is what it is. Like I said, the tribes, whether you like it or not, they're gonna net. They're gonna do their thing. But to me, that's even more of a reason to mitigate for that loss and to do something about it. I'm glad they're doing. Glad I'm hearing about they're asking for that money, for
the
some other
funding.
stuff. But all the guides are running around with logbooks.
Mhm.
stuff like that too. It's kind of like, well, I thought that's what the whole point of that
Right.
was. So
Like to keep track of
and
what's
I
there.
did see, and then I'm gonna leave it at that. I did see one comment that I just wanted to smash on, and Travis, I didn't see your last name, but he said that he talked to a biologist in the Southwest, and he said it's always a funding issue. I call absolute, unequivocal bull pucky. If you give me a broodstock program that needs to start up, I will give you all the money and all the manpower, and we will have that thing off the ground tomorrow. Challenge
Yeah.
us.
I already got a
dare
box
you.
sitting on my back porch.
I dare you. Like, that is generally not the problem that we have ran into when it comes into these discussions.
No.
Because I feel like between how big the steelhead fishing is, what the guys did on the Wilson to raise the money and to do it and to fund that, I mean, it should not be that hard. And I know all you guys out there fishing your $600 fishing rods can make it happen.
So here's
Or we
here's
have no
something.
fish.
Yeah.
So I was talking to my buddy Kalen. He's up north, and he kind of had a pretty good idea of wild fish endorsement for like license. You just pay that extra
Yeah, I mean,
whatever
there's-
$20 an angler.
Would you? I mean, we're all running around in $600 waders
Yeah,
and fishing $500 rods. If I knew I could give them $100 for a
boy.
wild steelhead endorsement,
Yeah.
and it with $100 was going to go to the supplementation of broodstock programs on the North Coast, I think there would be 20,000 anglers that would buy that tomorrow.
That
They just don't try. The problem is, because I've had this discussion with something else. The problem is a lot of the constituents of Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife don't trust the Washington Department to spend the money where they're supposed to spend the money.
correctly. Yeah. No, I get that. I get that.
Well, ain't that a rock in a hard place?
Yeah.
God.
Besides
We're in a bit of a pickle, Dick.
Besides brood,
And we need a dance from
broodstock.
Jordan, says JD. I like that. Well, we got 550 of you guys in here. Obviously, we want to talk steel. I don't want to keep our next guest waiting because we can sit here and talk this all around.
Now it's going to get a little more positive.
So maybe, how about this? What amount of money, if you're Washington or
Oh, here we
Oregon
go.
guy,
Yeah.
here we go.
That's a good one.
What amount of money, if we all needed to support a broodstock program, even if you lived down in Southern Oregon, if you had to support broodstock, like what's to have fisheries that are viable and that go through the whole season, like, worth to you? Like, I mean, you're running around in a freaking $8,000 raft.
$1
I mean,
million.
right, I mean, we're not going to spend $20 to try to catch a fish, to actually put a fish in the water to catch.
Yeah.
Like, give me a break. I think that number is a lot higher. But let's see those numbers. We've got a second prize pack. We've got an addicted hat
Nice one, too.
and some.
Snazzy. One
and
for
some-
a date night.
Do you not feel that like that panfish blend fits that hat?
It really does.
I mean, come
This
on.
hat screams, I like crappie.
Yeah. $100, $69,
Big crappie guy.
$500,
Big
$250.
guy.
Big middle school
100,
football
zero.
coach
Oh,
energy.
fine, Tyrus. Zero. Well, not all of us have an $8,000 raft. Okay, I get it, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, come on.
I'd match
you know
up
what the
to
guy's
5,000,
trying to
Smokey.
say.
Well, we're going to be talking
Wow.
about people matching
Well,
to that number. 1,100. I mean, people get the context that we're
Yeah,
talking
Big money
about.
Michelet, yeah, boy.
Like, I'm telling you, and I mean, Nicolette and these guys on the Oregon coast, I mean, they've got some good programs. I'm sure they have broodstock programs.
they
They
need
want
us.
broodstock programs, and they want
Elsewhere. so
viable
people
fish.
go
They
there.
need us to have
It's just-
broodstock
it's
programs
pretty-
up here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We all know what
50,000
happens.
anglers, $40 each. Well, I don't know if we have 50,000. I don't think we have 50,000.
Whoa,
Well, actually, we probably
that's a big
do.
number.
Because what was it? We have 700,000 licenses sold in the state of Washington, but I think only, I don't know, $49.99, says Ryan Wall. Yeah, $50. $1 million, some bitch. Well, we'll be talking to you. $100 for fishing, no break. Yeah. And then the Outdoor Nerd says they got enough money. And like I said, I'm talking money earmarked for a program that actually puts fish in the water. And you can see like the numbers that people are throwing out are not small. Talk is cheap, I get it, but the challenge of not having enough funding for one of these programs, I think, is a mute point that I don't think carries any weight in an argument. Well, with me, I guess.
All right.
Not that I mean or do anything. So, pick a winner. Clint, we've got over 550 you guys watching, and our next guest coming in. I'm sorry to keep him waiting. Just great Steelhead talk. Everyone wants to talk Steelhead. I get it. I'm cutting you guys off. I'm sorry. You guys just need to smack me down.
BS Creek.
BS Creek.
Caught one up BS Creek.
He got
one on BS Creek.
He got. No, he only hooked it. He didn't catch it. That's the
I
problem.
only hooked it.
Only
hooked
it. Oh my God.
I'll never say that again.
BS commented, thanks, Bob. And yes, we do give many thanks to Bob Kratzer for tuning in here and putting up the
And for all
BS.
his work.
And
Not
for
even
all
just tuning in, but man, that guy has taken a huge weight. I mean, Cameron tries really hard, but then those two are probably right up there, and he
Bob is
guiding full time and doing everything he can to make sure that he gets to keep guiding. So the guy is a true gentleman of the sport.
He understands that if we don't pull the trigger on things now, like it could be a problem later. So BS Creek, be sure to email orders at addicted.fishing. Send us your address and send us your tune in. And I'm just going to say it because Marlon did set aside this gift, but I was like, we got to get 500 people watching. Well, we got another backpack we're gonna give away. $129. Freaking dope. Steelheaders backpack right here. Pretty badass. I know a lot of you guys bought it. You sold out our shop a couple times with it. Fortunately, we're actually getting reorders like we should now. Things are looking good, but we got a backpack for you. We'll give that away when we're done talking to Mr. Scott Amermann. Woo. Let's bring him in. I saw a couple people chime, donate to Селецкий Anglers Association. There he is. Hey.
Let's hear the good side.
Hey guys, how's it going?
What's happening, Scott?
Oh, doing good. I just want to start by saying a lot of great information from Bob Kratzer, and he came all the way down and fished in our Селецкий Anglers fundraiser last year. Donated, bought a seat in a guide boat, came down and spent the day with us, kind of saw what we were doing down there with our organization, got to come see the broodstock program, got to do all that stuff. So not only is he working hard in your areas, he's spending time to come help us and do stuff. So
that's pretty awesome. And I just got to say it right now because it's been about 25 comments already. Go Beavers, quite a game.
Go Beavs.
I bet
That's a great game.
You've been walking around with a smile on your face all week.
Yeah, it's been nice.
Awesome, Scott. So we brought you in because we wanted you to talk a little bit about, kind of a little parallel to what's going on with what's going on the North Coast. We've got coastal steelhead.
Is that parallel? Is that perpendicular?
Parallel? No, it's not perpendicular because I'd say it's like Columbia.
They're going like two different ways.
They're going the same way.
Well,
it's a coast.
Well, no, but North Coast is kind of going down. The South Coast is going up.
Well, if you're discussing one thing, you're discussing another.
Okay.
So we're going to go with that.
But what about this?
We're going to go with that total line of BS. Okay, to contrast what's going on with the North Coast Washington, we wanted to talk a little bit about what your organization, what the Селецкий Anglers Association is doing, and also how basically kind of like how you guys started and what it took to get programs like what we keep talking about, broodstock programs going on in there. And everyone is crying about echo. Everyone is crying about echo. Don't throw your hand.
Yeah, I think they said it was on my end somehow.
It's on Scott.
No idea. The
sorry,
earbuds,
guys.
everything didn't work. I don't know.
Maybe go no headphones, go speaker. We have to fix something here.
Okay.
I don't know. We can't hear the echo and the feedback here, so we have no idea.
Just have to let me know if that got better or that got worse. Picture or it didn't happen. I'll throw up my winter steelhead.
Oh, that's a beauty! Oh my God!
Sea life sticker.
Boy, you knew that was a steelhead when you hooked it.
11-pounder. So I thought it was another coho. We were Chinook fishing and thought it was another coho. Got it up close to the boat and went, oh man, that may not be. And then got it in, looked at it. It was hatch fish, so it was kind of nice.
Okay,
but
we're going to stop everything right here. Okay, Scott, as much as you had to wave like an actual real steelhead in your face, what I think we're going to do is we're gonna get off the video feed and we're just gonna bring you in on the phone. I super apologize, but we got all the beaver comments in, and you had to show off your oh wait, everyone's saying better fixed.
Fixed, yeah. They all say it's good.
We're gonna go with it.
Yeah, I took the earbuds out, so maybe that worked.
I didn't hear him. He said he took the earbud. I can turn them up now. Okay. Dang it, I was about to pull the trigger because everyone got the OSU comments, and then you shoved the winter steelhead in our face just to make us all feel inferior. But you're Scott Amermann, so it's gonna be that way. So let's talk about the beginning. You're with the 𝗛𝗘𝗟𝗪 Angler Association. Tell us about where that broodstock program started, why it started, and what you've seen since then. The floor is yours.
Sure. So, I mean, we're fortunate down here that we're having pretty exceptional steelhead fishing. We haven't had limits on our fisheries that have broodstock programs in the last, 30 years or maybe ever. We've never had restrictions as far as seasons closed or not being able to fish out of a, moving vessel and all that stuff. And you asked the question earlier of what people would pay to bring a broodstock program into, Washington. And I think the bigger question would be ask those people that have broodstock programs in Oregon how much they'd pay to keep them. Because if we didn't have those, it's hard for somebody to imagine how successful those are, how good they can be if you haven't fished them, if you haven't been on a river that has a really productive broodstock program. And I know you guys have came down and fished a number of them with the addicts. You guys have done some really cool videos, that kind of stuff. I think that if people saw how successful these programs are, their number that they'd be willing to pay is a lot more. And so we've been lucky and had some supporting groups down here that raised money and did stuff. And we had money in our pocket. So when we went to the ODF and W staff and they said, hey, it's a funding issue, we can't do this. We said, well, we got, all this money right here. What do you need done? Let's do it. Let's move forward. And so we kind of put the cart in front of the horse. We went out and started a group, raised money, did this kind of stuff, which originally was Oregon Wildlife Heritage Foundation, became the North Coast Salmon Steelhead Enhancement Fund. And now we're doing the 𝗛𝗟𝗪 Anglers, so we're kind of getting all these groups. So we always have money right there ready to go for whenever there is a project or something that we want to jump at or do. So, that's kind of why we're doing these things. And so I think if you ask people how much would they be willing to pay, it's really should be answered by those people that have seen how successful these things can be.
Right. Well, I mean, looking at the scope of things, I mean, with the way that, we kind of hear about conditions as far as, the habitat out in the ocean is shrinking because of, temperatures and some of these situations, it's almost getting to the point where it's like, we're either going to have to pay to have these programs supplementing steelhead, or we're not going to have steelhead.
Yeah, so no, I totally agree. And the one thing I would say is work with the tribe up there. You're never going to get the tribe off those rivers. So the best thing you can do is work for them. Let's make a bigger pie so everybody's splitting it bigger. I heard you say that earlier. And I think that if you can, work in conjunction with the tribes up there, have them in support of broodstock programs. We've seen what the Quinault River tribes and stuff have done that's super successful and really has a lot of opportunities and that kind of stuff. So if you could, get the tribes on board, get a broodstock program going to some of these areas, do different stuff, a bigger pie for everybody is hugely beneficial. So that's kind of what we did. We started off, we had a broodstock program on the 𝗛𝗟𝗪. People came from all over the state and came and fished it because it was the one big fishery. It was the one good opportunity for hatchery fish and that kind of stuff. And as people saw how successful it was, we went back to Tillamook and, you guys talked about fish biologists and stuff. And we were lucky we had some really good fish biologists in Tillamook that jumped at an opportunity. Rick Klump was our district biologist back then. We talked to him. We said we had funding. We said we had this stuff, and we were able to start a broodstock program on the Wilson. And then as the Wilson became, successful, then we were able to continue on and branch off and do one on the Nestucca. And then we went to, the valley streams and did those. But I mean, the Tillamook area guys, Chris Knutz and Robert Bradley, are still there following the lead of what Rick led with. And we have these great programs that have a lot of fish or providing a lot of opportunities. we haven't seen a negative impact on the wild fish. We're spawning wild fish to create a hatchery run. So if their offspring do spawn, they're still first generation wild, fish. They were never spawned and spawned and spawned again. They weren't all that kind of stuff. They simply are a first generation wild fish offspring. So there's more of them in the river. So if they do intermingle or spawn, we haven't seen any negative impacts. And so if you look at like the Wilson River, it's probably one of the most crowded rivers in the state at times. And we have all these people fishing on it. We take a couple hundred wild fish out of it a year for the broodstock program. We have this great hatchery fish program. And there's rivers that are close by, the Trask River, the Nehalem River, that are close by that have, very little impact, and their wild production hasn't been any better than the Wilsons. The Wilson has stayed with a really, healthy wild population, and those other rivers that have been left untouched for 30 years or whatever haven't rebounded and have way better wild populations or anything like that. So it's interesting. It's, it's really an example of what we're doing and what's working.
Right, and it's showing that it's not actually having a detrimental effect on those runs. I mean, I guess that would be the biggest takeaway, like as far as the runs actually where the broodstock programs are occurring, if they're level, if the wild populations are leveling with that. But you get the increase, obviously hatchery production, which we do get some take. But what have you come across in any of your, in working with the broodstock program? Was there ever a program where they just decided to like go into like a river and maybe like do a different fin clip or do a different broodstock program? Because one argument that I do hear a lot from, like, I don't want to say what I want to say, but just the other side of the coin of this discussion is that we just want hatchery fish to kill. Like, we want hatchery fish to kill. Well, last I checked, like, there's a lot of steelhead fishing going on in Forks, Washington, and a lot of those trips that there's no hatchery steelhead at all. But I mean, so this way, instead of like making a broodstock program to harvest, at the end of the day, it's going to be on the table, versus using a broodstock program. Maybe you do like some sort of vent clip so you can mark and understand which ones came from your program, but you actually don't, like, the purpose is not to kill and the purpose to actually help the wild run.
Sure. I don't know. I'm going to be one of those people that's probably going to say, I don't know if it's ever a great idea to have hatchery fish spawn on purpose, but, it definitely could be used as a tool to rebuild runs and do that kind of stuff. But we've had rivers like, the 𝗛𝗘𝗟𝗣, the Wilson River, that kind of stuff, where we had out of basin stock that stayed in the river, and then we brought in these broodstock fish. And what we found is, instead of getting a 1% return or 0.5% return on our smolts, we got a 6% return. We got this really big bump in how many of those smolts survived, came back, lived. And instead of returning a 6 or 8 pound hatchery fish, we have, lots of times now we're catching, fish that look just like wild fish. They fight like a wild fish. They basically are a wild fish. You're landing them, and they're a hatchery fin clip fish that you can keep.
Well, that's that beauty of that. It's first generation every year. It's always first generation. So in that case, I would say with you never want to purposely have hatchery fish spawn, but in this case, you almost it's amplifying a wild run.
But because I think you do have some of those hatchery fish that their parents were wild. Like, two things of that. One is, last I checked, on the Селец and on the Wilson, you have never had a restriction on your fishing, your day's ability to fish, or any other, like, don't fish from boat regulation for the last 25 years. And
maybe ever.
If you don't have hatchery fish eventually meet gravel, well, then I guess we could probably go talk to the tribes upriver in the Columbia Basin, because all those, like, now late returning coho runs and some of these huge strides they're starting to see from summer steelhead came exactly from that. Yeah. They came exactly from the hatchery mechanism to do that. Mm-hmm. And now look what we have. Now, granted, those are some reintroductory runs, but at the end of the day, like, those runs benefited from actually using a hatchery system to
take a look at where I'm going in a couple of weeks.
Well,
prime example.
Well, fair enough.
We're not even going to get down that train, but hatchery mechanism created a wild return, a healthy wild return. So,
how did you guys start? So you had the money. And then.
Well, so we had groups that came in, like, so when we took the program to Tillamook, we had this Oregon Wildlife Heritage Foundation thing that every time, our Department of Fish and Wildlife said, hey, we need money to do this, whatever it is, have an acclimation pond, a holding tank for the smolts. place for collection boxes, all those kind of things. We had all that stuff. We had money there ready to pay for all those things. So we did the same thing on the 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏. Is we've now got an organization and a group, 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏 Anglers. We put that in place to have money if we run into that with the department staff, where we start talking about, hey, what can we do here? We're trying to get more smolts there. We're trying to do more things. And so we actually are working with our 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏 tribe right now, and they're doing a hatchery program up Rock Creek of the 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏s, and we're trying to get them to release smolts into that river, and they're doing it, and it's working, and we'll see the first year returns hopefully this year or next year, and we should see that this is going to work well, and they're raising smolts and doing all that stuff, and if they really get their way and get this going, hopefully it'll grow and get bigger and bigger, and working with them instead of trying to fight against them and do that kind of stuff, I think is beneficial for all of us. But we had a broodstock program going there, and we just kind of have broodstock programs going all over the Oregon coast. It spreads people out. People can go to one of 6 or 8 different rivers around the state and go catch fish instead of everybody going to one.
Well, there's no question. I mean, there's a reason why, like on Black Friday, they put trout in a whole bunch of lakes and not just one lake. I mean, you definitely want to see
Well said.
that. We definitely do want to see a little bit of spreading out of the effort, because there is a lot of fishermen, a lot of interested parties. Since you guys are actually a program, they're actually down there doing something, you want to tell us a little bit about how anglers can support the 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Anglers Association, because whether you live in Washington or whether you live on the east side of the states or even Northern California, having these programs around benefits you as a steelhead angler, because at the end of the day, when the North Coast finally takes a downturn, there might not be very many other places to go. Let's be honest about that. But how can we help you, and what's going on right now with your guys' season?
Well, I mean, you got Hatchery Wild Coexist is a great group. North Coast Salmon Seal Enhancement Fund is a great group. Those are both groups that are doing a lot of stuff for our broodstock programs, for our steelhead, for our fish all across the state. I'm sure people like me are coming on to help you guys up there, so it's not like we're not all trying to help each other. Better fishing is better for everybody. And so I'm part of a group where we do 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Anglers Association. You can find us on Facebook, 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Anglers Association. Join our Facebook group. We talk a lot about 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏s, what we're doing, different projects we got going on, that kind of thing. We have a fundraiser on March 4th. A lot of guides from all over come down to it. Bob Kratzer came down last year. We are doing this fundraiser, and then that way we have money to do programs, and hopefully we're really trying to get more fish. We're trying to get more, for us, we're trying to get more hatchery fish in our river. We dump about 50,000 hatchery smolts into the 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏s, which is a really small number. And so we've petitioned the state. We're trying to work with the biologists down there, turned in a big petition to get about an extra 30,000 fish. We wanted to release them into a lower portion of the river, so there'd be more opportunity for people that weren't expert oarsmen or had private property or that kind of thing, trying to get in areas that were more accessible and do those kind of things. And so, we're talking about doing some stuff like that. We petitioned the ODF&W and unfortunately got turned down this year, but we're not going to take no for an answer. We're going to keep working, keep going for whatever we can do and see what we can get done.
Why did they say no? I'm just curious.
I wish I had an answer. I honestly don't know. We had told them we would pay for everything. We'd release them. We talked to, the town down there. We got city park permission to build acclimation ponds in the city park. That would be great for, collection of broodstock, all that kind of stuff. So 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, the 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏s, the Nestucca, all of our fish that are the wild caught fish are caught hook and line. I have an aerator that I keep in my boat that's an onboard live well. We have a big number of guides and sports fishermen in these areas that sign up to be participants in this program. When we catch a wild fish, we put it in that aerator, we carry it in our boat for the day, we put it into a holding tank or that kind of thing. Those fish are then taken to the hatchery, spawned alive, and returned back to the river after they're spawned. And you guys were talking earlier with Bob, and he was talking about how they're kicking them off at a 10% mortality for the wild fish. And I mean, we're catching our wild fish. We're, netting them, we're bringing them on the boat, we're putting them in a live well, we're aerating them, we're putting water on them, we're then taking them out of that aerator, putting them in a coin slot or some kind of holder in the river where there's a cage. Then an ODF&W comes and they net those fish out of that cage, run them up the bank to a truck, get them loaded up in a truck, drive them to the hatchery. The hatchery holds them for, until they're ripe, ready to spawn, and spawns them live. And we don't have a 10% mortality on our fish. Like
there's a lot of handling going on.
I was gonna say you keyed into that, but at the same time, like that's a mortality rate. What he's talking about, guys, is the mortality rate that's applied to our North Coast steelhead fisheries. I think it's 10%. It might even be above that. And it's a number they use because they understand that some of the fish that are caught by sportsmen are inherently killed, and there's a rate to that. But what's funny and what's interesting is that these broodstock programs that have handled hundreds, if not thousands, of steelhead, they're handling these fish 5 times more. Like Nick and I figured this out because there's actually situations where they catch a fish, put it in the drift boat, row it down to the takeout, put the drift boat then on the truck, drive the truck with the fish in the drift boat to the tank, take the tank, put the fish in the tank. Then the ODF&W, like you said, comes in, scoops them out of the tank, puts them in the truck, trucks them up to the hatchery, puts them in there, and then basically lets them sit, long-term survival, till they're right, spawns the fish, and then does this happen in the sleds where the fish gets caught again? Like sometimes 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, so we caught one. We caught one last year. That was one that had spawned before they'd put a tag in it. They released the year before it went back to the ocean. We caught it returning the next year as a live fish with a tag in it. And we said, man, we got this fish with a tag. It had spawned and been a broodstock fish last year. And so there's also something really cool about knowing that, like I showed you a picture of
the part of the program last year.
Oh, shoot.
What a noble fish.
Yeah, good job. Yeah. Man. Get it. Right, so like mortality rates that are applied. And the other thing is, too, is like, and like I said, this is the part where I wish the biologists would listen to some. I'm not going to say all, because I know a lot of you anglers out there, we're all pieces of work. But when you've got guides that have guided on the river for 35 years on the North Coast, and they can count on 2 hands how many dead steelhead they've seen, and they guide those rivers 90 days a year.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't happen by their metric and by their numbers. We handled 2,000 fish. Well, that's 200 to 300 dead steelhead that should be laying all over the river. Like,
well, I think that
they ain't there. Like, so like we see it in the broodstock programs that the mortality rate is junk, and we also see it in just real life on the fact that there's just not hundreds of steelhead laying around the banks everywhere. That it's junk, and those are the rates that are applied to where we have to eke out these little seasons where I think we can fish from boat today, King person, that we can maybe fish from boats from this location down, and it's like, okay, well that's great for this year, but what are we doing like
for the
long term
future
here? Like I mean, the next time your spawning ground survey gets washed out by a high water and then you don't see as many reds, well, 2 years from now we know we're screwed. Like I mean, and the numbers don't mean anything.
Sure. So I mean, that's what we got to, like you said, we got to make a bigger pie. Everybody's fighting for that little piece of pie and what day we can fish, when can we get in a boat, when can we go somewhere. But we just got to make the pie bigger so we have more opportunity for everybody. And if we can get people that are avid fishermen, they're going to fight for the fisheries. What we have is we have a broodstock program on the Ssiletz that's really cool. It's really working. And we have a ton of avid people that want to be out there fighting for that thing. The same thing on all the Tillamook area streams that have these broodstock programs. Once you see them, see how well they work, see what's going on, that kind of thing, you want to fight for them. You want to fight and see if you can make them, big and more successful and that kind of stuff. So I think that's, just a great way to do that. And what we've seen over the years is, they're regulating the sports fishermen up there in Washington right now, but they're not looking at any other factors. They're regulating the sports fishermen. And so I know I've seen you guys do some really cool videos in Tillamook with chum salmon and stuff like that. I won't say rivers because I don't think we're supposed to, but I've seen you guys do that. But I grew up in that area and saw those unbelievable chum runs where we'd go try to catch Chinooks, and the chums were a nuisance. The chums were annoying. There was just so many of them that you'd go by, every little creek would be stuffed with them. and eventually those runs started to decline. And we used to have no limit on them. You could kill as many of them as you wanted. If you wanted to take eggs out of them, you could do whatever. That's just the way they were. They weren't considered a game species in our state. And then eventually they said, hey, we got to do something. Our runs are starting to decline. So they made them a 2-fish limit in Tillamook on chums, and you could kill 2 every day. And then the runs continue to decline. They said, we got to regulate the sports fishermen more. And they made it a 1-fish limit. And so when the 1-fish limit didn't work and it didn't rebound, they said, okay, we're going to make it catch and release only. And after it went catch and release only, our returns never returned. We had zero. It just kept declining. And ODF&W is like, oh my God, this is so bad. You can't even target them. And so now we have a month-long season that you can go target these chum salmon, and the runs didn't return. That you can target them catch and release only. The rest of the year, you can't even legally target them. And so you could go and catch and release them at this time, but the runs never rebounded. And eventually they said, man, maybe we should start looking at habitat. And they went back and they realized that they did a lot of projects in Tillamook Bay where they had dug out some of the estuaries and stuff like that to try to keep the flooding down in Tillamook, because we had bad flooding for years. And so they tried to make it so the water would flow out more quickly. So they, filled in a bunch of side channels and took out all the woody debris and did all this stuff. So when they went back and started adding those kind of things back in and started looking at habitat, our chum runs started rebounding, and now they're unbelievable again. I don't think they're back to what they were 40 years ago, but they're 100 times better than they were 15 or 20 years ago. So we've seen that.
And nothing to do with the line in the water.
No, you
right.
can't.
And the final mic drop is the sport, actually doing something. Like actually doing something with habitat or predation, or supplementation when you're going to be losing some of those fish every single year helps. Getting rid of sports and making sure that Susie Q don't get a fish from a freaking boat doesn't do anything.
No,
it's never been proven to do anything ever.
Yeah. So what's going to happen is if you take away all the fisheries, you're going to lose all these avid people that are like Bob that are out there wanting to fight for it. And so what we need more avid fishermen that are out enjoying our fisheries and doing this stuff to want to go fight for our fish, to fight for more fish, to fight. I want to leave this a better fishery for my grandkids than I had it when I got there, And so that's been my goal the last 15, 20 years, is to really get avid in the, restoration and that kind of stuff.
Two just real quick question. I see good discussion in the chat. I don't know if you're seeing the chat too. One person asked if you had to tag fish that you caught and brought into the broodstock program. And no, you don't. You're not keeping that fish. You are transporting that fish.
You cannot keep it.
You have to. This is not something that anybody can just go down do and willy-nilly. There's a little bit of training that the ODF&W kind of walks with these guys. They have to make sure they're well equipped with aerators and pumps. But what I am going to say is that if you are interested in going and doing this, because it is really cool, we've done tons of episodes on addicted fishing that you guys can go out and check out. And there's other entities that have done episodes too on this, but you can go out and check it out and actually participate and go help that guide that's participating in that program. Go help and angle for them. And the reality is too, and I don't know if it's the same thing down on the sleds, but I know some of the other broodstock programs, there's always kind of this real push right out of the gate to try to grab a lot of the early ones, just to try to spread that piece out. Is that the same thing going on down
It is. It is. So first of all, to answer your question, we have to have a transportation permit. Each individual person has to get approved by ODF&W, go through, background check or something that basically says you can sign up, you can be part of this program, you get a live well, that kind of thing. So Joe fisherman can't just show up and go take a wild fish and try to drop it into the broodstock program. You have to you have to be proven that you're going to do a good job, go through the thing of understanding how to handle the fish, what to do, all that kind of stuff. So I think that is something that is this part of what we have to do. And your other question was, tell me again.
Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the comments. Well, the other point, I saw people discussing. Gotcha. I saw people discussing the size, what size, how big, the fish can take, and you just basically have to be taking a lot, any returning steelhead. You're not trying to take jacks and small fish, and And in turn, that's going to produce a little bit bigger fish in the runs, because a lot of these like segregated stocks were started with like, 2-year little stubby early returning fish that just kind of kept generating those.
They're just there.
Sure. So to answer your question, we do have, like, right now we're about ready to start our broodstock program on the 𝗪𝗏𝗏s December 1st. That's the first day we'll start collecting wild fish. We catch them, trying to get more early fish and that kind of stuff. But when I first started the 𝗪𝗏𝗥𝗗 program, the first year we did the 𝗪𝗏𝗥𝗗 program, I didn't start it, but when I first started collecting fish for them, we couldn't catch a fish before February 15th. They wanted all of the wild fish caught after February 15th, and they wanted a late returning fish. So we took fish from February 15th until, the middle of April. The first year those fish returned back to Tillamook, I caught 25 hatchery steelhead marked with the broodstock clip in December. And so, like you said, it's the sand pile effect. When you have this huge return that's coming in March, some of those fish return in December, some of those fish return in May. And we've caught fish in May, and we've caught fish in November and that kind of stuff. So getting more fish kind of spreads them out. But we do kind of encourage
taking. Isn't that quite? It is. I just because it's just such a sticking point. I don't mean to cut you off, but isn't that like a really bad sticking point for like Washington Department not prosecuting a lot of the late salmon fisheries that are going on, like on the 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏s and a lot of these viable fisheries because of early returning fish? I mean, yeah. Is it like, are we like not putting like as many puzzle pieces together as we can right now, to where like if we actually had that, like, okay, well now we can actually prosecute some of those fisheries, let alone the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 freaking hatchery steelhead that they got 3,800 last year?
Sure. So I mean,
sure.
You want to have opportunities. You want to be out there fishing.
I had to like throw that in there because I'm hoping there's some North Coast people watching, because like, yeah, here it is on a platter.
Well, I mean, and like I said, we need those people up there, avid fishermen. I'm on here not because our steelhead fisheries aren't great and we need the publicity or that kind of thing, but to try to help you guys get better fisheries up there. Because if we have better fisheries up there, you get more avid fishermen, you get more fish, all that kind of stuff. And I think that if the general public was fishing on the Quinault every day, and you had the hatcheries you have in Cook Creek and that kind of stuff, we'd all love the Indian tribe, and so if they had those going on in a couple other rivers up there that are open to the public and had these big production, that kind of stuff, everybody would be like, man, I love the fact that the tribe up here is releasing all these fish.
Really,
they have more to catch.
Not so much for the take of fish, but just for the insurance policy. Because again, 22, 25 years, your guys' programs have been that long reaching, and you have yet to see any issues with wild escapement to your gravel in those rivers. You guys have had robust fisheries, no restriction from boats, no bait restriction. I don't know. Have you ever even had a bait restriction down there? I don't know.
No.
Oh,
we never had.
Okay, cool. No. I mean, you guys fish for 5 months out of the year? It's like, well, to me, that seems like a blueprint. Just throwing that out there.
Sure. I think if you guys were looking at your mortality rates and you said, yeah, this is the mortality rate, and you had everybody on the river pulling divers and bait, fishing that bait directly behind a diver, slowly rolling it down the river, you might have a mortality rate like that. But what we did is when we started fishing our fisheries, we quickly did away with all those fisheries and did a lot of bobber fisheries.
It's like a faux pas to like fish diver and bait now. Like, I mean, you fish diver and plug, or you fish plug, that's one thing. It's like but like you fish, if I row by your boat, like, well, I'll just say this because, well, not row by my boat, but on a river that I sled. Like, if I go by that boat and I don't see that rod tip wiggling, it's like, can't be doing that. Like, you just gagging fish with sand shrimp or something. It's not good.
Well, that's what I kind of wonder if some of those mortality rate studies were done a long time ago, or what their thoughts on mortality is. I mean, the difference between mortality in the ocean on a coho that's actively feeding in 70-degree water and the mortality rate on the coho.
Up on those steelhead. You and I both know they are very, very, I'm not going to say like, and the other part of the discussion we were going to have tonight was, handling wild steel. I think we might be saving that for another time. But they are a very hardy fish. Does it not mean that we need to take an ounce of
absolutely
an ounce of protection away from them? Like, this fish will be fine, and do a little more extra handling or a little harder net, or bring them in the boat. Or I'm not saying anything along that means. They fortunately are a durable fish. Could you imagine if we were trying to like release kokanee or something? Like, you know what I mean? Like, those things, you just look at them and they die. It's probably a good thing. But the reality is that they are a tough fish. And as we've seen in the broodstock programs, being handled 5 times, but that rate's not applied, and it's just sitting there right in front of your face the whole time.
Sure. The only time we've ever had a high mortality rate on any of our fisheries, we might have had times where it got above 2% or got above 5%. We went into the hatchery systems and saw where they were holding the fish and what they were doing and addressed some of the issues there where these fish are being held for a month or more, how they were handled, what was going on. And once we got in front of that, our mortality rate went right back to 2 to 5%. It wasn't ever the mortality of the fishermen catching the fish, bringing them in a live well, carrying them down to the tank and doing that kind of stuff. It was the trucking of the fish, or it was the, holding at the tanks and those kind of things. And I'm just telling you, like, to me, a 10% mortality rate is unbelievable.
Jacob says whatever the lead guy's name up there on the Washington coast said, the Steelhead's biological makeup was different than ours. I can refer him to the Snyder Creek situation and how productive that was. Thank you.
Sure.
No one's buying that one. All right, what can people do to help you guys out, to help make the pie bigger? I know you guys have your rendezvous coming up March 4th. You guys have a unique situation right now where someone's matching.
Sure. So we had asked people how much they'd be willing to donate. We had a person get a hold of us ahead of the Giving Tuesday. Said, hey, before the end of the year, why don't you put it out there and tell people that if they want to donate money, I'll match up to $5,000 of donations. So if we get donations coming in if somebody donates $100 to our Селец Anglers Association right now, our Селец Anglers Association actually is going to get $200. And, so if we get up to $5,000, we'll end up with $10,000 in our program just for this, end of the year, get your money in, get a tax break, do all that kind of stuff thing. And so it's really cool. And so you can look at our Селец Anglers page on Facebook. There's a link on there.
Is it on Facebook or is it on a website?
It's on our Facebook page right now is where we did it. And a lot of us
can go donate.
You can go there and do it. You can reach out to me. You can find my stuff if you Google it. But Grant Sheely, Mike Kelly, we're the 3 that started the Селец Anglers, started this nonprofit organization to make our fisheries better. But what I'll tell you is, like, the $10,000 we bring in this time, or the money we bring in from doing our fundraising events, stuff like that, goes so far. It's been unbelievable to us that we go to do projects and ODF&W says, hey, we got this $40,000 project we want you guys to do. We want you to come in and clean out the tanks, and we want you to rebuild some grading, and we want to do all this stuff. We go out, tell our people, say, hey, look, guys, we have this project that needs to get done. The next thing you know, we're having somebody bring in an excavator and do excavation work that it's all done. All we have to do is pay for gas. So we're doing it for, $15,000 instead of 40. And so we're getting a lot of it done. So our money goes a long way, the money we do bring in. And so we tried to do some, like just little projects here and there, like boat ramp restorations and that kind of stuff that never took any money out of our pocket, because once we started doing them, everybody donated all the work 100%. So.
Well, I'm looking on your Facebook page right now because I'm going to donate $200 this second, but I can't figure out how to do it. So how do people, seriously, we got to walk people through there, and Clint's going to do it right now. How do we donate?
Sure. So what we're going to do is right now you have to reach out to one of us. We'll give you an address you can send a check to. We can take credit card over the phone, that kind of thing. We're currently.
Do you guys do Venmo? Right
now we're in the process of setting up an online where somebody can just click a link, open it up, do that stuff. We just hadn't, It wasn't like we anticipated, hey, we're going to have this person step up and say, donate money right now. So we just went with it. And so right now we do check or credit card. If you want to call credit card, we need to talk to you in person, take your information, handle your credit card information, run it, and do that kind of stuff. We don't do all the other forms and stuff right now. We will get on all that stuff. We're literally in the process right now of getting it set up.
We are on a social media platform. Like, Scott, this is how it works. Just kidding.
I understand.
How would somebody donate?
I was going to say, somebody right now on this live feed that wants to donate, they need to personally message Scott Amermann on Facebook.
Yes, me, Mike Kelly, Grant Sheely, or just right on that Селец Anglers page. and say, hey, I want to donate money, we'll reach out to you. We'll get a hold of you and tell you every opportunity you have and how to do it. So just right under that, if you have a Facebook
Well, that's
account.
what I mean. I was looking at it and I'm like, okay. I see people saying about the matching and seeing all that stuff because, like I said, I mean, that $200 is now $400, guys.
Sure.
But
so if you just write on there and say you want to donate money, you'll see that a number of people have. We'll get a hold of them and reach out and do everything.
okay, well, there you go. Blow up Scott Amermann's personal messenger and his phone. Should we put his phone number out there, guys?
Oh boy.
No, we shouldn't do that. Even though, well, we use a guide, so
I guarantee you,
the
it's
guy's
out
number you can always find. But maybe next time we bring this gentleman in, probably before his fundraiser, we'll make it a little easier. They'll have a Venmo. And don't get me wrong, I was like the last to the Venmo party, or at least I thought I was last to the Venmo party. You guys were last to the Venmo party.
You aren't.
Oh, you haven't been Venmo? You
still haven't
clients
done
get
it.
off the boat all the time. Like, get a Venmo?
You
I'm like,
Venmo?
Venmo? Oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Nope.
Any person that wants to go out there and Google, salmon eggs.
Program, Scott, thank you so much for your insight, tuning in tonight, talking with us. You guys, I mean, like I said, the writing's on the wall. There's correlation. If you guys can donate to 𝗪𝗏𝗥𝗗 Anglers Association, they have their. I think you need to show up on March 4th, and you need to row people down that river.
I would love to. I would love to go
fun.
row the 𝗪𝗏𝗥𝗗.
Scott, I'm gonna need to call you a few days beforehand to get the little intel.
We'll get you down.
Yeah. Get the skinny.
Yeah, right. I'm scouting for a week.
Yeah, you got scout for this.
I want to go follow those guys.
Cool program because I think the proceeds the guides take that day, they donate it also back to the 𝗪𝗏𝗥𝗗 Angler Association and keeps
100% goes there. Yeah. So cool.
Awesome,
I'll block that out.
Anything else you want to add? Thanks.
No, I really appreciate it, and I'm hoping we can figure out ways to make that better up there and make fishing more opportunities for everybody.
Appreciate it, Scott. Go Beavs.
Thanks, buddy.
Go
He's
Beavs.
a duck hater, so it worked out. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scott. There you have it.
Yeah.
There you have
This
it.
is the story.
Laid out on
One
the
was
table.
a lot more exciting and fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Which
And
one?
he was
Which?
smiling? I don't think it didn't sound like Bob was smiling.
No,
Just kidding.
Bob's always smiling.
He is.
I mean,
He's one of the nicest men.
He's one of the
out there.
nicest guys, and I mean, he understands the process though, and I mean, the guys in the Northwest Washington are very set, but at the end of the day, the biologists down in Oregon, 25 years ago said it's time for something different, and that program was enacted. And I put the challenge out there that we do have. Oh boy, I started the duck stock. I'm not that much of a closet hater, but when they have, when they had that opportunity, they jumped on it, and it was presented, and there's a few people holding the keys to the kingdom. So yeah, Just the Pro said, great insight from Scott Amermann. Yeah, guy's been there, been guiding longer than I've been alive probably, and I'd also recommend getting a trip with him. I actually took a guide trip with him a bunch of years ago too. Look him up, and if you guys have a chance or opportunity to donate, they're doing the $5,000 match. I will be getting Scott $200 to start this up just to get things going. But I think all you guys should as well. And then maybe you'll have a place to go fishing 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah. What do you got to add?
Let's give that backpack away.
You want to get the heck out of here. You look
No,
tired.
not at all.
You hunted all day, though, in the snow.
Well, and we're waking up
My
at
buddy
3:30,
really
but I don't
wants
want to
that
get out of here.
backpack.
No.
You want to leak something?
Oh, that's right.
Right here.
Couple things.
This thing.
Both of those.
No, we're not. We're gonna wait on that.
would
I
leave
think
it.
we need. No, it's 8:00, and I think we need to do a full. The other part of the discussion tonight, guys, is going to be wild steelhead handle. I think we're going to punt that to next week. We want a lot of time to talk about that. We've got some new exciting things in that realm. In the meantime, next week, if you catch wild steelhead, don't be a dick and beat it up or anything. Be nice to it.
Yeah.
Keep it in the water.
But we're going to talk some wild steelhead handle next week. We're going to be talking a lot of steelhead over the next coming months. As you guys know, it is. That's why we got this guy here. Steel Obsession.
Yeah.
Guide service.
Obsessed.
Almost
Obsession.
caught one this year.
I
had to.
Almost.
Sorry.
Clint, you don't have room
we
to
will
talk.
name him Almost.
Whatever.
He's going to go out tomorrow, rip two, and then shove it in my face. Oh,
I was going to sleep in, but now all this, I might have to.
Yeah, we might.
Get
I'll
after
go
it.
with you. Let's go. Let's do it tomorrow. I tell you what, guys. Yeah, super cool. But we do have one more thing we're going to leak out before we give that backpack away. We had 500 of you guys in here watching the whole time. probably arguably the biggest live feeds in the Northwest. Let's see here. Where did it go? Oh, Marlon. See, so Marlon, we'll just call Marlon the salesman right now because he is so much better at it than anybody I know. Today or tomorrow. Tomorrow's the first. Tomorrow starts.
He's way better.
Yeah, see, right there. Yeah, I already screwed up. Dude, I've been talking all day. I am done. 12 Days of Christmas giveaway. 12. I hope he's watching on his way to Idaho right now going, what the hell, Cameron? Shut up. Okay, almost caught one, exactly. The 12 Days of Christmas promotion starts tomorrow. And it starts, day one kill bags are $44.99. And we will have a deal every day for 12 days. 12 days. We are going to have one of those things. And keep in mind, too, for every dollar that you guys do spend on the website is one entry into the golden ticket giveaways, which we have tons of grand prize. I don't know why I'm the grand prize. I feel like Nick should be like the grand prize of that. Like, he can take out 6 dudes. But anyways, you can win some really cool fishing trips. We are going to film some Addicted Lives on them. Lots of other cool giveaways, gift cards from some of our partners and sponsors across the Northwest. Every dollar spent gets you qualified for that. We'll announce the winners after the first year. We filmed one last year. If you guys want to know what it's about, go to the YouTube channel, check it out. Search Golden Ticket Giveaway because we did a really awesome Buoy 10 beatdown. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. I can't remember. It's all a blur. But
Just runs together.
It was really awesome. It's on the YouTube. Check it out. You guys know what I'm talking about. Val, the super chat, the Adequate Fisher $50 super chat. Where is a good place for beginners for salmon, steelhead, and Oregon? Well, probably places that they plant them for early runs. So go to your Oregon synopsis, check out your regulations. A lot of the plants are posted online for the earlier time, for this November, December, January timeframe. And then later on, it's when a river honestly is open, is probably, if it's open in February and March.
It's probably the time. It's
probably the time to be there to target some of those wild steelhead.
Mm-hmm.
Or look up those rivers that Scott and everybody was just talking about on a live feed. Great places to start, do a little homework and get behind the wheel and get out there and get some time on the water. You'll find them.
Yeah.
Yep, you'll find them. So hopefully that answered your question. But those numbers are posted out there to check out. All right. I think that's it.
Bag time.
Bag time.
Bag them.
You know what? I don't think we had a good winner, but you know what? Let me do this. No, let's not do this.
Bye.
Good question.
Nope, we're gonna do that next week. Okay.
Yeah, yep.
Pick a. You know what? Thank you guys for tuning in. We have over 500 of you guys watching the whole time for the Steelhead Talk. Obviously, it's important to all you guys. We appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, Clint, let's just pick a winner for those guys that participated and had good questions and good comments during the feed. We love going back through there and using those, and there was a lot of good ones tonight. A lot of great comments. A lot of very obvious comments, like basically, what the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those.
Roadstock it.
You know, we'll keep awareness out there and make it happen. Pick a winner.
Do you think that was WDFW on?
No, I do not.
If you go and you look at their YouTube channel, the name is exactly the same. No space.
I know, but I don't think it is. I don't know why they would be on our
bet it
live
is.
feed. And if we're on our live feed, well then
Pick them.
news to us. Go ahead and reach me. I'll be on my phone all day tomorrow, and you're more than welcome to give me a shout. And we'll have a great discussion. All right, we've got a backpack here. Let's pick a winner. It's one of our awesome steelhead backpacks, so you can go chase those steelhead on the rivers. Yeah, waterproof, 40 liters. You got it. Let's see our winner. Roll it up, Clint. What is that?
It's a picture of a backpack.
Oh, what are the odds?
It's a backpack emoji.
How did he?
It's a little lunch pail.
Seriously, how did they do a backpack? They have a red backpack emoji. You're gonna
They
sit
would've-
there and tell me that
I was random as hell. We all saw it.
It was, but I mean, Motor Rida puts red backpack and wins red backpack. Shoot, I'm gonna go on the live feed and put $1 million. Maybe I'll win $1 million, right? Holy cow! Well, I'm probably butchering that name, but Motor Rida.
That sounded
You
pretty good.
know what to do. Email orders at Addicted Fishing. Tell us you won the backpack by commenting red backpack. Send us an address
Now
and we.
everyone's doing it.
Oh yeah, it's a little late,
Everyone's
guys.
scamming.
It's a little late.
That's funny.
Man, it was a little late. So awesome, guys. Great live feed. I know we let our guys talk a lot, and I cut them off a lot, and I do apologize for that. But
We got some good info out
We
there.
got
It's just
some-
a start. This is
Well,
December tomorrow, so
Tyler, that's the spirit. 20 backpacks.
And just so everyone knows, you're not cutting him off on purpose. He's really
Try not
quiet. No, he's really quiet. So when you guys are talking, or he's talking,
Clint, are you backing me up right now?
yeah.
Do I need to hug you?
Sweet.
No, you're my blackjack buddy.
Oh, that's
No.
right. Oh, we don't want to talk about that. Awesome, guys. Next week, we're going to be talking more Steelhead with these clowns.
Hopefully, have some pictures for you.
And maybe we'll have a real picture for you. Like, why can't you be like Scott?
I'm gonna
That was
try.
such a
What?
Now I'm gonna really try.
That's such a pretty.
Yeah, now he's gonna come in.
God.
He's gonna come in next week live. Boom on the
Hey,
table.
always check this out.
I hope you do. Oh, look, there it is again. That's what they look like, Jason.
Yeah.
That's what it did look like.
Oh, it's so
Just
awesome.
didn't make it into my boat.
Great live feed tonight.